Hi, everyone. Welcome. I don't know what time zone you're in. I am up very early by my standards and by most entrepreneur standards in California. Myrto, you are somewhere much more exotic. I don't know what time it is for you, but wherever you are coming in from, welcome so much. This is one of our absolute favorite sessions that we do because it's when we get to talk all about our flagship program, VC Lab, which has helped launch 800, probably more than 800 now, venture capital funds, brand new venture capital funds. We help launch 60% of all new venture capital funds that get launched every year, all over the year. And what's exciting about that is like we get to be part of your superhero origin story. And this call is where we get to meet some of you guys, talk to you at least through the chat window, through the screen for the very first time. And our emerging managers, the ones that get in the programs, the ones that meet their milestones, stay in it, raise their funds, are just absolute rock stars. And they're kind of the people we all do everything for here. So this is like we should be playing like We Are Family or something. This is like when we get to like recruit in the new people. So somewhere on the other side of the screen are our next, I don't know, 20 or 30 fun rock stars who are going to circumvent the system of who gets to be a VC, are going to start raising millions of dollars and funding the next companies that will change the world. I cannot think of a better reason to get up at 8 a.m. How about you, Marto?
Yeah, hi Sarah. Hi everyone, wherever you are in the world. We are a very distributed team. So I'm in exotic, I don't know if you'd call it exotic, but I'm in Athens, Greece,
It's
6
very
p.m.
exotic.
here. Thank you. Thank you. And I know there's a lot of people who join us from, the far corners of Asia, Australia, and stuff like that. And they stay up really late for these. So to you guys, but also everyone here, thank you so much for, dialing in. I see you're all introducing yourselves in the chat. Please keep doing that. Share your LinkedIn's. Just don't share your fund thesis because that could be construed as general solicitation. We don't want anything like that. Wow, Bangkok. Wow, hi Adi. So yeah, super excited to be here and to do this with you, Sarah.
Yeah. So I hope those of you who are in Asia watching this late at night are drinking something more interesting than coffee. This is just a bring your own time appropriate beverage Zoom. All right. So let's get into it. And I want to just say, we're going to talk a little bit about the program, about who it's for, what to expect, but also what we're doing differently. Because I know a lot of times people are referred to come in, they've heard of friends who've done it, and we're always trying to make it better. So we're going to talk all things Cohort 19, which starts end of September, and the final deadline to apply is September 8th. So it is like we are like getting to like go or no go moment. Are you going to absolutely change your career and the world? Yes or no? Check yes or no. Pass the note back to us. That's like where we are. Okay, so as I go along, as we talk about things, please put any questions you have in the Q&A button that's down there somewhere. Um, I'll check it throughout. So we'll be like, this will be a very like interactive session. I wish we could have sort of all of you on screen, but there's more than 100 people. So that would be an extremely convoluted Zoom Brady Bunch. But ask as many questions as you want in the Q&A. When I start seeing them pop up, your questions are certainly more important than anyone's I have. So we will make sure we get to everything. This is like the train is going to leave the station September 8th. So this is your last second. No such thing as a stupid question. I promise I'll ask something stupider than all of you combined. All right. So let's get going. Tell us a little bit about what makes, I mean, VC Lab has had an incredible track record. Adeo, the CEO of the company, and I just were on a podcast for TechCrunch that came out yesterday. And I mean, as much as we like to talk about what we do, it has been a little bit of a well-kept secret. And even like the editor of TechCrunch was like, wait, what? You've done what? They've raised how much money? Like they were blown away by what this program has produced. And like you're essentially the den mother, right? So what is it? What is the secret sauce? What is so unique about it? And tell people a little bit about how it works.
Yeah, of course. I was actually trying to squeeze in finishing your podcast episode with, the folks at TechCrunch just before we jumped on, and I had it at the maximum speed I can, like, actually make out the words at. I still didn't get it in, so I still have 10 minutes to go. But I want to say what an incredible episode you guys recorded there. I loved it so much. We can actually, oh, thanks, Domenica. We posted that in the chat. It's such a good conversation, super optimistic about the future of venture capital, and for everyone who's thinking about launching a fund in the midst of a lot of kind of more negative media that the sector has been attracting about, oh, it's so hard to fundraise. The fundraising environment is really hard. So we're not seeing that at all. And Sarah and Adeo, the founder of Desal Group, are going into a lot of detail on that. So yeah, awesome episode, Sarah. But yeah, so for VC Lab, we've been doing this for quite some time now. It's probably one of the only programs in the world that is helping kind of launch new funds. And our goal is to try and accelerate you going from kind of having an idea of a fund to a first close, which is the moment at which your fund becomes fully operational and you can start making investments, which is why a lot of people are doing that. But most of you just want to go and fund incredible companies. But in order to get there, there's just so much that needs to be done. Venture capital is a very regulated industry. A lot of people don't really understand the regulations. You need to fundraise before you can obviously start making investments. Fundraising is one of the most difficult part of starting a fund, and it's actually currently the biggest obstacle of getting into the industry as a new fund manager. So we're kind of here to just help you through all of that. We have, every single cohort, we're iterating on the approach. We're learning from the cohorts that have just been. We're, changing the curriculum, and we're constantly kind of watching what's happening in the market and quickly adapting to allow you guys and the new fund managers to launch a fund and be successful as a new manager as quickly as possible. So that's kind of what we're here to do. And in terms of kind of how the program works, you need to bear in mind that these are, the demand for launching a fund globally is enormous. Adeo was, looking at the numbers, and basically if there are 350 global cities in the world, only about 50 or so have more than a dozen VC funds, which means that there are so many large cities that are completely underserved of venture capital. There's a huge kind of gap to be filled. And yeah, so there's an enormous amount of demand. And so each cohort, we try to get as many people as we can who are qualified and who we think have a good shot at launching a fund into them. And so we start out, and basically every week we have 2 live sessions. We have an Ask Me Anything session and a webinar where we bring the kind of top-notch people in the space to come and mentor the program participants. There's a curriculum that is, basically your blueprint to launching a fund. It covers every small and big important thing that you need to do to set up a fund. It's things that limited partners are going to ask you for when they're conducting due diligence on you. It's things that you'll need to kind of have set up before you launch. Anyway, just kind of like all the small and big steps that you need to take. And that's all, kind of done through our curriculum. And yeah, the community aspect is pretty big too. So joining VC Lab means you're joining a community of now, oh, it's pretty big. I lose count. I'm gonna check now. So on Slack alone, we have almost 2,000 people, most of which are new and emerging fund managers. Some of them are limited partners who are starting to join this community as well. And so, yeah, you just kind of get connected to and plugged into this huge global network of new and emerging fund managers who have just kind of been through what you're about to go through.
And that part of it is so fun. I mean, right now we're planning a party that we're going to be having for our managers right before Y Combinator demo day. And we're calling it essentially like our Y Combinator pregame. And there's two incredible fund managers that pretty much all they do is invest in the best YC companies. And like they find out about these companies well before demo day. Like they know how to get into the companies like no one else can get into. I don't even know how. I'm excited to hear about this on Monday. And so, we've gotten them to come and do sort of a session to help give people who've never done Y Combinator demo day, like everything I wish I had known before, like how to do this successfully. Like you're hearing 90-second pitches again, and hundreds of 90-second pitches, probably mostly all about AI and trying to decide what's the company you want to invest in, and then trying to get in it when every big investor in the world is in the room. Like it's one of the most competitive, difficult, sort of frankly stacked against the investor landscapes, but one of the most important days of the year for the investment world. And like, not only do we help get your fund set up and all the things Myrto talked about, but like, we have your back at a moment like that. So you're part of a community. We can even like help get you, potentially like into demo day. I mean, we're like just here to kind of give everyone every like pick and shovel they need because, we think our sort of contrarian view as a company is, as Myrto was saying, there's not too many venture firms, there's not too much money, there's not enough. There need to be about 10,000 more venture funds in the world to really fund all the great ideas out there. There's a reason that the Bay Area economy is like something like the fifth or seventh largest economy in the world if it were a country. And it's largely because we have the biggest venture capital ecosystem in the world. So it's a really exciting thing to be part of. So let's talk a little. Oh, sorry, go ahead. You were going to say something.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're just kind of reminding me, like, I'm talking about the program structure and stuff, and what what's kind of like the program overview, I would say. But you're kind of talking about this, and there's every single day we kind of sit down and think, how are we going to make it easier for new fund managers to enter the space? And beyond kind of the program structure, there's all these things that, like you just mentioned, right? So yesterday we gave out, I think it was like 10 passes to people to go to YC Demo Day, which is it's super hard to get into. And we're building software and all these AI tools to kind of help people launch their funds, and we try all these new things. So you're really kind of entering a really dynamic environment where there's a whole team around the world in exotic or non-exotic places that are just kind of constantly thinking, how are we going to make this easier for you to launch a fund, and how are we going to give you an unfair advantage to enter the space? So yeah.
It's super exciting. And one of the other things that I should mention, I want to talk in a minute. Well, I'm going to do some questions, then I want to talk in a minute about like who is this for? Because, look, it's a big deal to manage people's money. We don't want to set people up for failure. We are picky about who we let in. This is not everyone I've talked to has gone through VC Lab. Says this is not like a learning time. This is a doing time. Like it is a hard program because you are launching a fund that's going to be investing in people. It's going to be managing people's money. Like we were asked on the TechCrunch podcast, and we've been asked a lot in the media lately. We've been in the Journal, we've been in Axios, we've been getting a lot of press. And we keep getting asked, like, what's the difference between you guys and Angel List? And, the difference is it's really in the name. Like, Angel List is for angels. Are you doing syndicates? Are you doing SPVs? Are you doing one-off investments? Look, as someone who was a former entrepreneur who's helped build 3 companies, angels are amazing. They're called angels for a reason. Yet, what we're doing is we're helping you build an institutional grade venture capital fund. This is like not playing around. This is not just looking in the bank account. Yep, I've got 10 grand. I'm going to write a check because this feels good. You are building an institutional grade venture fund with everything that comes with that. You are going to do it quicker in this program than you probably could anywhere else because you're going to know the things that are going to waste your time and you're not going to do them. You're going to know what to focus on. You're going to know how to hit the ground running, and we're going to hold you accountable, and we're going to make sure you're hitting your milestones. But it's a big undertaking. So it's like, people have to be ready for it. And we take really seriously, who we let in the program, who graduates the program. That having been said, what I love and the reason I'm part of this company is there's so many people who would make incredible VCs who don't fit the, kind of very narrow paper doll cutout of what's hired right now at a traditional venture capital firm. And one of the biggest differences that we're seeing is when it comes to gender. On average, about 17% of emerging fund managers are women. More than 30% of the fund managers that we graduate are women. We're also really pushing when it comes to race. Obviously, globally, there's a question earlier if you have to be in the United States. You absolutely don't. Globally, we have fund managers all over the world. We're actually doing a study now on like LGBTQ representation with fund managers. Like, one of the real missions of this company is talent is evenly distributed and finding that talent anywhere and getting the talent that has not looked a certain way or been in the right place, who hasn't gotten their shot, giving them their shot. So tell us a little bit more from your point of view. If the old thinking of who should be a VC doesn't apply at VC Lab, what does apply? What are we looking for? How do we know? Because the other thing is, in the traditional world, you would have to be an apprentice for 10 years to get to the point of being a GP. And like, we're throwing you out there with your fund right away. So, how are we able to know who has the chops to sort of skip that step?
Yeah, and it's such an important question, and ones that no one has kind of sit down to really think about and do anything to change. VC has been such a kind of boys club in many ways, and it's been super difficult to get into, let alone like it to work in a fund, let alone to start your own fund. So we're trying to change all of that. And yeah, so we're not looking at academic background. We're not looking at your previous track record. If you have one, that's great. If you were able to invest in the past, perfect. But a lot of people who are starting out and are currently super, super successful in their fund ones going into fund twos had not invested in the past, right? And so what we're trying to do is just to kind of understand, because look, we're kind of talking about breaking down the barriers and stuff like that. It's still incredibly difficult to launch a fund. And what the key to success is the secret sauce of the manager that's launching the fund. So what is it about you as a manager or as an individual, actually, that will make you succeed in the space in which you're looking to launch your fund in? Okay, so we're, and it sounds like a simple question, and we spend 4 weeks at the start of the program helping people answer this question in a way that's effective, and that will, because this is the question that all limited partners are going to ask you when you start fundraising to form this fund. They're going to be like, why you, right? And so we spend an incredible amount of time helping you answer why you, right? And so when we're going through the applications for people that have applied to the program, that's what we're kind of trying to figure out. Like, do you have an edge that a limited partner would look at and be like, the skill set or the network that you have, I can't find anywhere else in the market. And so the only place I can, if I want to invest my money in this space, you are the perfect person to do it. So that's kind of the lens through which we're looking at applications. And then kind of when we're working with people, we're always kind of looking at things from the perspective of the limited partner, who is the most important kind of persona when you're starting out a fund. And so this could take a number of forms. When we're talking about edge, the most obvious one is if you have, whether or not you have an investment track record. So you may be someone who's done angel investment in the past, and you've made some returns, and you made some money, and the companies that you invested in did really well. And so here you're kind of showing, I've done this before, and now I'm just going to step it up and do it professionally. But there's other people. So if you don't have an investment track record, that's absolutely fine. You may have, for example, you may be running a community in the space that you're looking to invest in that happens to attract a lot of really high caliber founders that are building in the space. and you're kind of their first point of contact they'll go to for advice or to kind of bounce ideas off of. And so you have that incredible access. You can get in at day zero, basically, which none of the other kind of VCs will have, if they're more established or if they're not running this community that you are, right? Or you may be someone who's just been kind of helping startups in the past, and you're mentoring them and you're helping to connect them to later stage investors, thereby helping to increase their value. And so LPs will see this and be like, oh, you're really good at kind of getting those up rounds for startups. And, that I want to invest my money in that. And so these are just some examples, but you know, it really will come down to you, and you may have some really unique secret sauce that we've never seen before, and that is converting a lot of limited partners. One thing I do want to say is that um, you want to make it relevant to the thing that you're investing in. So I'll give you guys an example, which we see all the time, and it's kind of, it'll help to kind of illustrate this point of why sometimes people struggle to articulate this. So take an analyst or a principal at a fintech fund. They'll be like, oh, I want to start a fund in climate tech because I think climate tech is where it's going to be at. And I think that's where, the future is. And so I'm going to start my own fund, but it's going to be in climate tech. And so a limited partner will kind of look at you and be like, okay, well, you're a fintech investor. How are you going to do climate? Right. And so you kind of have this disassociation. And so one of the hardest things that people struggle to do is just to align kind of what their secret sauce is to that space they're looking to invest in. So if you're going to do climate tech, you better be able to tell investors why you're the best person to invest in climate tech. Otherwise, there's a ton of other climate tech funds out there that are more established, have an existing track record, and they'll just invest with them.
Great. Okay. So, and I mean, this is one of the things that's so exciting about the emerging VC space is like everyone's thesis is going to be different. Everyone's reason of why them is going to be different. So, like if you are like thinking about this and you're thinking, well, I don't know, I don't seem to fit, like it's like there's no one template. And I encourage people if they think at all that this is something that's for them, definitely just apply because, we will, definitely work with you and let you know and give you feedback. And if nothing else, you'll learn more about the space. You'll learn more about the program. You'll learn more about, hey, if this is what I want to do, what else do I need to get in a row in order to get there? So, I should say the program is also completely free. So there's no risk in applying if it's something you're thinking about. We also have other workshops and programs that are just about getting into venture capital generally. So maybe if this isn't quite right for you, but you want to be in the industry, there's another program we offer that might be better. Like we will help figure out your place and your way into this industry if it's something that you're passionate about and you're ready to work hard. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, because we can't do the work for you. We can give you every pick and shovel, but you got to be ready to work hard. All right, let's go to some of the questions that are coming in, Myrto. And again, I'm seeing a few pop up in the chat. Put it in the Q&A. It's early in California. There's only so many windows I can look at yet. Okay, so one person asked when Cohort 20 is starting. Clearly, they are not ready to jump on this train that is leaving September 8th.
Yeah, and it's important to know when you're jumping on the train, everyone, because one of the things is that, you want to kind of, when you join a VC Lab cohort, you want to be at a stage where you're kind of ready to give this your best shot. And so you want to make sure that you don't have a ton of other distractions. You didn't just start a new job or that you can really focus on this because it's also a performance-based program. So we're kind of having people move through different stages of setting up a fund at similar kind of times. And so that means that if you know everyone is kind of at like month 2 stage of setting up a fund and you're still at month 1 or 0, then you know the content just kind of stops being relevant to you, and so will, you know, you won't be able to continue in the program and you have to apply to a different cohort. So make sure that if you're applying to a program, you're ready to start, you know, you're ready to do this. And we run a cohort every quarter. That's kind of how you want to think about it. So there's approximately like 4 programs that start each year. And so cohort 20, so this one's kind of starting in it'll start early Q4, or you know, late Q3. So the next one is going to be Q1 of next year, TK. So that's how you want to think about it.
Okay, great. And Joseph has a couple questions about being a Swiss-based VC. Are there particular hurdles for internet, let's just say international, largely, uh, VCs joining the cohorts? Is there extra support they get? What does that look like? I have talked to some fund managers who, you know, I talked to one incredible fund manager we have who has an amazing fund that invests in Africa. That's a gender balanced fund. And, you know, she like was 60% oversubscribed. Like MasterCard is an LP, the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation's an LP. Like she's a huge rock star, but she was like, wow, it was a little bit of culture shock coming in as an African banker and then like coming into this like Wild West American, you know, shoot from the hip, direct, go, go, go mentality. So I know sometimes just even culturally, it can be kind of like you're jumping into something that's quite different than what you've experienced. But beyond that, tell us a little bit about, because, you know, you're not in the US and you're also kind of part of this Wild West. Is it any kind of disadvantage being in an international cohort in, you know, a US company? What should international VCs think about?
Yeah, no, that's such a good question. So, yeah, the program is completely global, and but we are a company that started out of Silicon Valley, which is also where venture capital started out. And so you're going to kind of get the Silicon Valley way of doing venture capital, which, as it turns out, is kind of regardless of geography, the most successful way of doing venture capital still, right? And I know there's kind of different ecosystems around the world. I'm in Europe, right? And the whole world has now woken up to the, you know, kind of benefits that the financial, economic, macro, micro benefits that could come with venture capital. And so a lot of governments are kind of pouring money into it and trying to stimulate the ecosystem that way. So I think it's great, but you know, what we're gonna help you do is launch a fund the way that you would launch it in Silicon Valley, and that is, you know, has a lot of chances of succeeding and being able to scale with time, right? So, Joseph, we've worked with a lot of Swiss-based funds, and you know, I don't want to get into kind of the technicalities. It'll depend on how, you know, and those will depend on how you want to set up the fund too, and where you're domiciling and where your LPs are coming from. But we're going to help you kind of work through all of those aspects in the program through various kind of sessions, mentoring hours, and stuff like that.
Great. And Mikhail was asking, as a fund manager, do I need to be good at financial modeling to be in the space?
You do not, Miguel. And that's actually one of the most exciting things right now. And it's one of still kind of something that is not really well understood. You know, right now, if you want to launch a venture capital fund, there are providers out there who you outsource all of the more kind of like technical back office, accounting, legal stuff to, and you are able to just focus on making investments. And this is kind of something that in people's mind, they're like, oh, I don't have a financial background. How am I going to kind of keep the book, you know, keep the books up to date for my fund and stuff like that? Most of the people starting funds right now don't have a financial background or a legal background or anything like that. Part of the program is to make sure that you kind of understand what kind of the accounting, compliance, regulatory, and legal kind of structure of a VC fund is, because you do need to understand it, but you don't need to do any of the stuff, because what's going to happen is that if you're able to go out to the market with a thesis for a fund that limited partners resonate with and want to be a part of, so they're committing capital to your fund, then what you're going to do is, you're at that point, once you've kind of proven the thesis and you've got a certain level of commitments, you're just going to go out to one of these back office providers. And Desal Group, we do this for some of the funds that come into VC Lab. And they'll give you kind of various, some will do some things but not others. So I'll tell you what Desal Partners, which is kind of like our fund admin arm, does. They do everything for you. Everything that you don't want to do, they'll pretty much do it, other than fundraising, because fundraising, no one can really fundraise on your behalf, or invest. But we'll set up the fund entities. We will make sure your books are all up to date, all your filings are in order, you're fully compliant. We help you open your bank account, which can take kind of 2 months in some cases. We'll help you review your deals if you want to, right? So we're just kind of like coming in as like a full team to your 1 person or 2 person new fund that you've set up, and you suddenly have this whole back office function that's doing all of this more technical stuff for you if you don't want to do it. So yeah, Mikhail, you don't need to know any of this stuff.
Great. And just to remind everyone, if you have a question, put it in the Q&A, not the chat. Not looking at the chat. Chat's lovely. It's for you guys. I can't do two windows at once. It's too early. Okay. Gregory asks, what's changing from the beginning, where you've helped emerging managers in this next cohort? I think what he's getting at that question is, what are we doing differently this time? And I should say, like, I mean, I'm sort of, my job is to help sort of really tell the story of VC Lab and Dessel Partners to the outside world, but I'm like always on all these interior calls, and everyone keeps saying like cohort 17 was the best cohort. Like I always hear about these like myths and legends of these cohorts. So, it does, but I was looking at some data the other day, and each cohort generally is like raising funds faster, getting to those closes faster, like the totals are up, like whatever we're doing. I don't know if it's we're letting more people in, we're finding better people, we're finding better ways to coaching them, but like our track record is going up cohort by cohort. So, what are we doing differently, Myrto? And what are we going to be doing differently this time around with cohort 19?
Yeah, absolutely. So, cohort 19's kind of tagline, if you will, is faster than ever. We debated internally for a long time if it should be easier than ever or faster than ever, but we didn't go with easier than ever because it's still not easy, and we don't want people to think that it is so easy. So, as we said before, we're just spending so much time thinking about how do we make things easier for you, and how do we make it faster for you to launch a fund. And so with cohort 19, we're kind of introducing, a few seem to be frozen. Can everyone still hear me okay? Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, the first kind of big thing that we're doing is that we're introducing a lot of AI into the various kind of steps of building a fund. And we're at a point now where we have AI that's specifically engineered using only data from all the past previous cohorts, right? So we're not doing if you go into ChatGPT and you ask a lot of these questions of how do I do a thesis or how do I pitch an LP, it'll give you really, really bad answers. And so we created our own LLM basically, and now starting to kind of spin out all of these tools, using only kind of data that we know is good and solid, and actually from people that have done it before in recently, right? And so there's AI tools to help you draft your thesis. There's AI tools to help you do your deck, to find LPs, to pitch LPs, to deal with LP objections, right? And so there's so much kind of AI in building a fund right now through the various products that we've built, that it's just kind of the speed at which you can move at is just unparalleled compared to other, past programs. Next up, we also introduced the Start Fund earlier this year, and this has been a huge success. Like people are writing in to inquire about the start fund, I think at the level of like 100 leads per day or something. It's basically we, found a way where you can launch a fully operational fund in a single day and allow kind of managers to start investing immediately, while all the kind of legal compliance and stuff like that is complete 100% taken care of and productized in the sense that it's all streamlined and you don't, it's click of a button kind of thing. So um, that's also, I don't want to get into this too much, but basically what this means is that you could launch a fund much faster. You won't have kind of your traditional three entity, but you can basically launch a much smaller fund way faster, and start making investments, the next day, if you like. So we're actually going to have, dedicated sessions about the start fund. So maybe Domenica, if there's one coming up, we can put that in the chat. And then we also have specialized tracks and, custom support for anyone who's building any one of the following types of VC funds. So venture studio funds, accelerator funds, AI or agentic funds, university funds. So if you're kind of in the university ecosystems and you're looking to set up a fund to invest in the innovations and startups coming out of those universities, we'll have specialized support for you. Deep tech, energy and climate, and I do have to say that as of a couple of weeks ago, we made the decision internally to stop kind of supporting dual use funds, especially the ones that are investing in technologies that could lead to the killing of people. Because with Desal Group, our mission, and the only reason we're doing this is because we think that venture capital is the only kind of plausible solution to the largest problems that we're facing as a society and on Earth from a climate perspective. And we want to, anyone who wants to join the community or any of our programs needs to pledge to the Mensarius Oath. Maybe we can put a link to the Mensarius Oath as well for people who want to know more. But we're basically trying to build a values aligned community that is kind of in agreement that whatever we do going forward and whatever we invest in should be to improve the lives of others and the world. So yeah, that's what Cohort 19 is going to be all about.
Great. That sounds so exciting. And I can, as you were like listing the different types of specific funds, I cannot wait to see what comes out of it. And, this is another, mentioning the start fund is another reason I say if you're at all want to understand what your place is in this ecosystem, apply, because even if VC Lab isn't right for you, there are so many products. And there are people who just skip VC Lab and do a start fund. And it's really great if like you've got really great deal flow. It's like that a start fund like gets you investing and building your track record ASAP. Normally, for context, it can cost $50,000 to $100,000 just to set up your fund, and it can take, a year to 18 months. So what we've been able to do with Start Fund is like truly a magic trick, except there is no trick, it's actually real. All right, we've got a ton of questions in about 15 minutes, so let's try to get through as many as we can. How do you define success for a fund? Rate of return, something else? How do we think about success?
Yeah, so as far as the program goes, what defines success is you actually doing the work and of setting up the fund, which will be things like little things like what's the name of your fund? Who's the team going to be? What's your logo? Little things like that, to much bigger things of like set up your data room, do your deck, all of these things, find your back office provider. But another huge one, guys, when you're starting, and one that we help you through the most, but also watch in terms of kind of how you perform on this metric, is the commitments that you have from limited partners. So we're super kind of, we're going to help you validate that there's a need for the fund that you're looking to launch in the market. and you need to show that you're getting this type of traction from limited partners who want to invest in your fund. So that's a huge success metric. And actually, if you look at commitment velocity, so how fast you're able to get commitments in the earlier stages of launching a fund, that correlates to you kind of, closing your fund much faster. In many cases, kind of doing a lot of, kind of better investments and stuff like that. So hopefully that answers your question.
Great. And I'm going to try to just skip some ones that I feel like we've answered already. Does being a failed serial tech entrepreneur matter? I mean, we have so many people who've launched funds who failed not once, but like many, many times. Like failure is a part of the landscape. So, I mean, I would say if you've failed, there's failing in the wrong way and failing in the right way. And if you failed in the right way, which is you were trying something really hard, maybe the market wasn't ready, maybe you didn't hit it right. I mean, if we're not taking risks as entrepreneurs, then we're not really doing the job. And so failure is part of it. So I would say if you failed in the right way, then that's a plus for you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, Sarah. You put it so nicely. We don't look for failure. We look at what you've gained through those. Just as venture capital is, from an asset class perspective, failures are such a core part of VC. 80% of all funds in the world have dead kind of companies in them, or zombie companies they've invested in, but we're only focusing on the wins here. So Kapil, yeah, just tell us what you've gained from it, and you must have learned so much from that failure.
It's also going to make entrepreneurs really trust you. They know you've gone through what they're going through. You've been in their shoes. Have you had to, unfortunately be the person having to lay people off or wind down a company? A lot of founders really look for people who've had that, challenging operating experience. So again, that can be part of what your secret sauce is going to be. Okay, I'm going to move on to a tool. How easy or hard is it to start a venture fund in the US that invests in startups abroad, specifically in India?
Yeah, a tool. We're kind of seeing this being kind of a trend where it's kind of like you're in one place in the world, but you're investing in another place in the world. It all kind of really comes down to execution and also what kind of presence you as a manager or a managing team have in that other location. Because the first question or scrutiny you'll get as a manager launching this type of fund is, what advantage do you have over kind of people who are locally located in that ecosystem? So that's kind of something that you'll need to figure out. Obviously, we're going to be able to help you, but this is kind of definitely something that we're seeing happening in VC right now and in new managers.
Mhm. And are people able to answer that successfully? And are people having success with that strategy? Or at the earlier stages, do LPs really want you on the ground?
Well, yeah, we've seen it kind of work if the manager is kind of in that location a lot or has a team member that's in that location a lot. Not someone who you just kind of picked randomly, by the way, everyone. You don't want to start a VC fund with just someone. It needs to be someone you have a really long and trusting working relationship with, because it's, kind of GP breakups on the fund level can be super messy, a lot more in certain cases than kind of like an other type of startup. So yeah, but I've seen that work where it's kind of like two partners, one's here, one's there,
Great.
type.
Great. All right. Let's see. Troy asks, what's the assignment protocol for the focus fund tracks in this cohort? I think this is asking about the different types of funds that you were talking about. I might be misinterpreting that question.
Yeah, no, for sure, Troy. I actually missed out another track, everyone. We also have a specialized track for people who are launching a fund two, fund three. That for that one in particular, it's almost like you're entering a different whole, completely different program, different curriculum, different mentors, different sessions. But for all the other ones I listed earlier, you basically, there isn't kind of we have resources for you, and then we have extra sessions where you sit down with kind of experts in those spaces to talk through the specific obstacles that you might be facing as a fund manager launching a fund in that sector.
Great. And Edgar asks about how to build a strong investment thesis. Any tips on how to get oversubscribed? I'll share one that I've heard from a lot of fund managers is it's really just about getting your pitch to the point where when you're out pitching people, you're getting a certain conversion rate. So sometimes that's going to be 20%, maybe it's higher, maybe it's lower, depending on maybe how challenging your sector might be or, your own background or story. But essentially, you want to get your pitch to the point where it's like, you're hitting a certain thing, and then you're just like pitching, pitching, pitching at a certain velocity. Because at the end of the day, like it's going to be a sales job, right? But that's like everything in life. People always bulk, like, I don't want to be in sales. Like, honey, we're all in sales. Like, my kids are in sales when they're trying to convince me to do something. Any other, just, we have a lot of questions to get to, but any other quick tips you've seen on people getting oversubscribed?
Yeah, we could have such a long session about this. Maybe Domenica, we actually have a full article that talks about how to craft a winning fund thesis. So we're gonna put that in the chat. And but yeah, what the one thing I spoke about around kind of tying up why your secret sauce is kind of relevant for the sector that you're investing in, right? You don't specialize in fintech but want to start a fund in climate tech for no reason, and so that's super important. As Sarah said, a good fund thesis will the better the thesis, the higher the conversion will be with limited partners. That's why we spend so much time working on this. And in order to get oversubscribed, I'll tell you like a quick trick that a lot of fund managers do, where it's like a lot of people entering the space, they're like, I'm going to start a VC firm and my first fund is going to be ginormous, 50 million, 100 million. We've seen 500 million. And first of all, it's nearly impossible to start a fund of that size. But also, it just doesn't work to your advantage for many reasons. You're not really well set up to manage this amount of capital for one. Limited partners don't want to entrust you with so much capital. Except I could go on for ages. But a quick trick of getting oversubscribed is to start with a much lower fund size target. So you start out maybe 5 million, 10 million. It's already hard to fill a $5 to $10 million fund, but what you can do is if you have a realistic target, then you may oversubscribe. And then suddenly all of the LPs are like, oh, wow, this person's a hero. I'm kind of like part of something that's already super successful. So that's kind of a quick trick for you.
Yeah, yeah. Great. Okay, so I'm just scrolling down because we're starting to run low on time. A couple questions on like, hey, what's in it for us if we're not charging for this program? And also talking more about the Dessel CMS. What does it cost? How does that work? I mean, really the only thing we do charge for is the back office software, right?
Yeah, exactly, everyone. So the programs are completely free. And Decel Hub is also completely free. There's like some paid kind of functions, but as a new manager, you're not going to need this type of functionality. And yeah, what we do, we're a mission kind of driven company. So we would prefer to help launch more firms than us getting more customers. But what we will do is if you're in the program and you're getting traction and you want us to be your back office provider, then you can pay for that. And we'll do all the things that I covered earlier. We'll set up the fund, we'll be running your accounting, legal, compliance, and stuff like that. So you may want to work with us. It does turn out that a lot of folks who come onto VC Lab do tend to choose us as their back office provider. And so we're actually at a break even from a company standpoint and our financials that, we're doing really well with this. But yeah, everything else that we're doing is free. And we, again, our priority is to get you closed no matter who your back office provider is.
And really, I mean, the company started out with VC Lab and it was spun out of Founder Institute, which is a global, the second, the largest by volume, by almost everything except valuation, because that's Y Combinator, accelerator in the world. So number one, number two, whatever you're thinking about for startups. And VC Lab was started as kind of an experiment because it's like, wow, we really need more VCs and more of these ecosystems. And it took off so quickly. And it was so clear that by like helping launch more VCs, we were actually going to have a bigger impact on entrepreneurs than even just doing an accelerator for entrepreneurs. And that's kind of what then took over. And we only really got into back office software because there really wasn't anything that was robust, that was easy, that was out there for the emerging VC. Like if you're in Andreessen Horowitz or Sequoia, there are massive boutique firms that will handle this for you that will cost a ton of money that would be overkill and a waste of money for any emerging manager, right? Anyone probably under 500 million in assets under management. But if you're an emerging manager, you were using like Google Docs, spreadsheets, Gmail, you were like doing Zapier logins to put stuff together. It was a whole crazy quilt. So, this isn't a company where we built software and thought, ooh, how do we have a cool funnel to get people in? Let's do VC Lab. It was the other way around. We built the software because of the need. It was the biggest need we were hearing because they're just, it if you think about you guys are all thinking about this as investors. If an entrepreneur came to you and said, "Hey, we're gonna, build back office software for VCs," and you were like, "Wow, that's a couple thousand customers. Maybe I'm not gonna invest in that." Like, it hasn't been built because there haven't been companies that have thought the world is so underserved, we need 20,000 more funds. Like that contrarian view of us is the reason that we've actually built something robust, leveraging AI, leveraging tools that didn't really exist before that can help you operate at a level of a big fund while still being a small fund.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And everything we've built is because the community asked for it. So yeah, it's really cool to see. And literally, you're looking at Decel Hub, which is a platform that you'll get for free that helps you launch and scale a fund. Every single feature almost has been a request from the community, and then you come into the community and you can request your features, and you're kind of helping to shape the future of this. And it's so cool, and I hope to see a lot of you kind of join us and to work with a lot of you.
Yeah. Yeah. And just, to be clear, we're also not taking like a chunk of your fund.
No.
It's free. Okay. So there's so many questions about what we do to help you find LPs, how we help out with that. And I will say one of the other things that came from the community was, can you help train people to be LPs? So we also have an LP Institute because often people are pulling in people from their network who've never been LPs before. One of the cool things when we're talking about these smaller fund sizes is someone who right now is doing angel investing absolutely has the net worth to be an LP. So we see a lot of people bringing in people in their network who've never been an LP in a fund before. So we have programs to help support that as well. The first close is going to come from your network, and your network is better than you think it is. And I've talked to so many managers who've gone through the program who are like, the number one thing I probably wouldn't have done without VC Lab is effectively tap my network the way that I did. And that's generally where your first close is going to come from. After that, we do have ways of connecting you with other LPs. Can you talk a little bit about how that works, Myrto?
Yeah, of course. And guys, one thing that a lot of new managers don't really fully know before they start is that, the kind of fundraising will always, for the near future at least, be the hardest part of setting up a fund. And the main difficulty, as Sarah put it, is that you can't really fundraise from strangers, right? It's so hard to convince. VC is already a risky asset class. You being completely new, no fund, no track record, no nothing, is double the risk, if not triple, right? So they're kind of like, why would I bother? The only people that will invest in you as a new manager is people who know you, who trust you, who know like you've got all this access to all these incredible founders and want to be part of the next thing that you're building, right? And actually, it's so important that you learn how to fundraise from your immediate network and then from your second degree network, and to kind of keep building those networks that you can then fundraise from. Because as it turns out, once you get to kind of institute, a fund two or three, and you start talking with more institutional investors, because you have that track record, suddenly you're out of the new manager bucket. And so, but by charter, they can now invest in you. So they're actually, part of their diligence is to look at how good you are at fundraising. Right. And so it's so important because they want to know that you're not going to undersubscribe a fund, that you're not fundraising brisk. Right. And so part of this experience is you learning and kind of starting to build up that fundraising muscle, as I call it. Because as a fund manager, you're going to be fundraising for the next kind of however 10 years for fund one, and then for every other year it's another 10 years. So for any other fund it's another 10 years for that. So um what we do is that we help you to craft your message. We help you find those people in your network. We have all the AI tools to help you kind of start conversations with them and then close conversations with the most high chances of them committing into the fund. And then, if you do really well, we're kind of testing, and it's going really well, this kind of limited part LP to GP matching, where it's kind of like we're building this marketplace where GPs and LPs can find each other, but we can't kind of put anyone in there that hasn't done at least a first close.
Yeah, I mean, once again, like this is a program for people who are going to be the next rock stars of venture capital. And there's a difference between what have been the gating mechanisms that have unfairly kept people out of an ecosystem, or just there's not enough funds and not enough jobs in the world. And are you able and ready and hungry enough to do this? Like, we're not going to raise your fund for you. And we're not also not going to invest in your companies for you. So we're going to take down every barrier to help make you successful, but like you are going to be the one making yourself successful. It is, I cannot say enough. Everyone I've talked to is like, this is a doing program. You are not sitting back and learning, you are taking action. I'm going to do one last question because we are at our last minute. Once again, the deadline to apply is September 8th. It is going to be an absolutely incredible program. The cohorts get better and better each time. You are going to be in an amazing company of people. And that's the thing. Any entrepreneurial journey is lonely. So the community is a big piece of it. Someone asked, what is a realistic time frame to getting to a first close? I've heard sort of end to end people I've talked to, they had their fund done in maybe, 18 months to 2 years. Often a first close can come within 6 months. They can start investing. If Start Fund is a fit for you, you can do it even faster than that. What have you been seeing? You've seen much more of this than I have.
Yeah, so outside of VC Lab, it can take 2 years, 3 years even to get to a first close. With VC Lab, we're all, the fastest we've seen someone do it is kind of like 4 months. But yeah, a lot of people can get to even a first close in 5 to 6 months. So we're reducing kind of that timeline. And then, yeah, with Start Fund, which is, please come to a Start Fund session if you have the time. We'll email you about it, or we can put it in the chat. You can do that in a day.
Crazy. All right, we have got to run. We've got to go help all of our existing cohorts do all of the amazing things they're doing to change the world. Myrto, thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait to see who comes through the doors in September and how we're going to help them change the world. Any final words for folks?
Thank you so much, Sarah. Everyone, yeah, we can't wait to start working with you. Thank you so much for coming to the session. And yeah, see you all hopefully soon. Thank you so much, Sarah.
All right, bye everyone.